National sports car racing these days, but it's a great entry-level single-seater category. It teaches drivers a lot because the cars do have aero, and it's great to have this first World Cup because, yes, you do get F4 races on occasion supporting a Grand Prix, let's say, and that draws the odd extra entry. We've had F4 in the past at the FIA Motorsport Games, which gives you a global entry, but that is a biannual competition, so there hasn't been any edition this year. So the first ever Formula 4 World Cup with its FIA title comes to Macau. All the cars run by the Mintimes company, which operates the Chinese F4 Championship. There's a lot of assistance being given by the FFSA, the French Sporting Federation, because they operate a similar system in France where it's a single supplier championship. Everyone has the same car, engine, team. So you're assigned an engineer, and after that, off you go.
Yes, and it's also a very interesting area in the paddock, if you like, which is underground, isn't it?
Yeah.
Here at Macau, so it does get quite warm over the course of the week here at Macau. But all the engineers all sat together in one little area with their laptops, etc.
Yeah, it's like looking at a school exam. They're all lined up.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
And get the right engineer, and you're going to be halfway there, I think, with this. There you can see the weather conditions. It's a little bit of a blustery day, but it's dry. It's not that sunny, but it's certainly not cold. You've got a number of drivers that come here with good pedigree. Number 3, for example, Thiago Rodriguez, returning to racing after a bit of a layoff, and he is a former Chinese champion. You've got Finn McLaughlin this year's British champion, Alexandre Murnau's the French champion, Simon Zhang, who is the Chinese champion this year, Emanuele Olivieri, who is the Middle East champion, Gino Trapper, who is the Central European champion, and Keen Nakamura Berta, who is the Italian champion. So there are quite a lot of reputations here on the line.
It's really cool. When I first came along to Macau, I loved the idea that you had drivers competing then for the Macau Grand Prix with Formula 3 cars and coming from this championship, that championship, dotted all over the world. So you knew that you were dealing with top-line drivers and all competing to take this crown, which, you know, for many meant even more than winning their domestic championship over the course of a whole season. And this is what this race is going to be over the course of this weekend. It's going to find the supreme champion, if you like, in F4. So really, really looking forward to this.
We've had Formula Regional cars on track already, but these instantly look smaller. They're not as powerful, but physically they are narrower, and that's one of the reasons why we're looking forward to seeing them around here, because overtaking might be that little bit easier. Some familiar surnames: Behrman, Weldon. It's Thomas Behrman, the younger brother of Grand Prix driver Morris, Sebastian Weldon, one of the sons of the late Dan Weldon. As I say, big names within the order, and some very successful drivers as well. And oh dear, drama for Finn McLaughlin by the look of it, who I think has ground to a halt coming out of the pit lane. Now, Finn McLaughlin, British F4 champion, is one of the drivers that comes here with a really, really good reputation and was, I think, one of the favourites. So why has that car ground to a halt? I don't think he's even got as far as Mandarin, has he?
It doesn't look like it, no, but the car is going nowhere and is unfortunately going to cause a little bit of a problem right at the start. The cars haven't even been able to get any heat into the tyres, really, have they? So this is a real problem for the start of Formula 4 cars.
So it looks as though race control are going to give him a little bit of time to see whether or not the car can fire up again. But if you look at the onboard shot you briefly had on the timing tower, Finn McLaughlin was still stationary, so he's going to try and fire it up. But the real question mark is to why it switched itself off. The car obviously was fired up to leave the pit lane, and then something has happened to cause it to grind to a halt. So at the moment we're still under a green flag. The officials will be keeping an eye on their extra pictures to see what, if anything, can be done, needs to be done to get the car out of the way. The red flag is shown, the session is stopped, so yeah, the car needs to be moved. So hopefully that means that everybody can just come straight back into the pit lane. Now, if you weren't with us earlier on in the day for Formula Regional, let's make the point, it's a free practice session, so the clock will continue to tick on down. And there is Finn McLaughlin's car, stranded for mysterious reasons. I don't think he's hit anything. I was just looking at the right rear corner and wondering whether it was slightly tweaked out of shape, but I think he's okay. It looks as though that's some sort of mechanical drama that stopped him, and Finn McLaughlin will be absolutely furious.
So disappointing. This is massively disappointing because he's not going to be able to rejoin this session, is he?
I don't think so.
If they get the car back, it's had outside assistance to get back to pit lane and won't be allowed to rejoin, which is a huge back foot to be on for the rest of the weekend.
Fair play to Finn McLaughlin for doing what he's just done,
yes,
which was to straight away help the marshals to move the car. There's no tantrum, there's no prima donna attitude there. He is grown up enough to straight away help the situation and get the car off the circuit, so he deserves a bit of credit for that. The car has stopped before turn 2, so yeah, he's come out of the pits and it's just ground to a halt. These all Macau M21 chassis, and the car being pushed to an access gate. So the first free practice session effectively is going to be half an hour, not 40 minutes, give or take.
What a good lad getting involved, stuck in and helping the marshals. Makes you quite proud, sort of representing the British Championship, the Vera Tools British F4 Championship, and the Vera Tools logo on his overalls as well. The overalls that he was competing this year. So really good to see. Quite proud of that champion.
Yeah, and he was a good champion, wasn't he? Yeah, took hold of that title. 5 wins on his way to the championship. He really did rock it this year. And Finn McLaughlin then getting that car off the circuit. And we hopefully will be back up and running before much longer, but I'm fascinated as to why it's ground to a halt.
No, it's very perplexing and very disappointing as well, because as we've said when we were talking about the Formula Regional cars, if you've not been to Macau before, there aren't many opportunities. Doing it on a simulator is a joy. It's something that 20 years ago drivers didn't have the opportunity of doing that. The first time was when you open the pit lane and send you out on the gear circuit. Right, okay, well, enjoy, you know where it turns, roughly.
Yeah, it's even half an hour.
But now they can prepare themselves beautifully, but there's nothing like being sat there. This is the opportunity that they get to do it. So I'm pretty sure that means Finn McLaughlin restarting this session.
Yeah, you're right. You're looking there at Hyo Lee, the South Korean driver who did a bit of cutting in the UK and Spanish F4 most recently. So there's the car then now having been pushed towards a crane. And Finn McLaughlin getting off the circuit as well. So hopefully we can get the session underway as soon as. Number 3 there is Thiago Rodriguez, who 2 years ago, no, last year, in fact, drove in the Grand Prix, crashed out on the first lap and instantly said, I'm going to retire, and decided he would actually carry on racing after all in Formula 4, but he was hugely disappointed last year. There's the rather ungainly sight, Finn McLaughlin's car being lifted away. And we await the resumption then of the session as Kimi Chan waits for the green flag. He was a winner in Chinese F4, runner-up in the Chinese Championship. We are within a minute before things get back underway.
Good news, and they've not really been able to get heat into tyres. They're not really been able to do anything. They have a 40-minute session. The 2 single-seater categories this weekend have 40 minutes for these free practice sessions and for qualifying later on for the Formula Regional World Cup. But they've already eaten up 10 minutes just having this interruption in the session so early on in the day, which is disappointing. So this is pretty much as if we're getting the session underway for the first time for half an hour.
There is Emanuele Oliveira, the Middle East champion. And if you're wondering about the Audi connection, there was an Audi logo at the front. He is the godson of Dindo Capello, former Audi factory driver, Le Mans winner, and a driver that's raced also in Italian F4. Right, green lights on. So here we go again. This is the real start, I suppose, and we'll try and unravel what happened to Finn McLaughlin in due course.
It is.
He's on the back foot straight away.
Let's hope that they don't exert a little bit more oomph on this opening lap, because the tyres still need to be prepared and got up to temperature in the normal way. It's pretty much as if they haven't done anything at all in this session. So take it nice and easy. The Formula Regional cars were very circumspect, weren't they, when they first came out onto the circuit this morning? Something we compared to last year, when they were maybe a little bit too ambitious on the outlap from pit lane, and it rather catches you out. Just to take it easy and build the temperature. You've got a long lap, you've got a 6-kilometre lap in order to get the heat into the tyres. There's plenty of time to do this.
There you see how the road tapers as you come towards Lisboa, with the curb jutting out, takes a lane away effectively, and then they swing their way through that right-hander. Really daunting corner that. You sit low in the car, you've got the barrier either side of you, and you just can't see the corner until it really is time to turn in.
But boy, is it good for overtaking.
Yeah, get it right. It's quite a move. It is quite a move, that's for sure.
It really is. That's one of the most exciting places on, certainly over the course of racing on Saturday and Sunday, where you really do see overtaking manoeuvres work and sometimes not work so well. It's then onto San Francisco Hill and the climb up into the tight and twisty section, which goes as narrow as 7 metres wide at the Macau hairpin. So really climbing up towards the lefts and the rights and the barriers either side. It's such a challenging circuit with pretty much every single feature that you would look for in a race circuit. It's tight, it's twisty, it's demanding, you need to be brave, and then the circuit opens out and goes wide, and you can achieve some incredibly impressive speeds around the gear circuit here at Macau, and that's why drivers love it. It's got everything.
19 cars we've got in the entry. It was 20, but Ethan Nobels had an accident in an F4 race last weekend and was a bit concussed, so he's not been able to take part. The car is here, and there was talk of another driver to replace, but that hasn't happened. So 19 cars and 18 in the session, given Finn McLaughlin's travails. So the drivers now getting a bit of temperature into tyres, coming down towards our bend, and we're about to see our first flying lap of the session commenced, and the pack headed over the line by number 51, the Japanese Brit Keen Nakamura Berta, who has a Japanese mother, a Slovak father. He was born in London, moved to Japan, and then back to London. So it's a truly international makeup for the Italian F4 champion. There he is, Keen Nakamura Berta, still trying to get the warmth into the tyres. Look, as much as break the toe that he's offering up to the car behind. Just
to go back for a very brief moment to the British champion, Finn McLaughlin, and that disappointing stoppage that he had. I've only just realised they're only out once today, aren't they? The Formula 4 cars only come out the once today. So all that waiting, all that anticipation, all that looking forward to, not even completed a lap. And now, tomorrow is an important day because they are out twice. They have free practice in the morning, so free practice 2, essentially that will be Finn's free practice 1, and then into qualifying in the early part of tomorrow afternoon. So today is, it's a write-off, isn't it?
Yeah, but look on the bright side, Finns can only get better. We'll swiftly
No, just let it breathe.
Oh, okay. So, flying lap, number 1 of the session, he says, battling towards the plot, with improved lap times starting, or improved sector time starting to be offered up, now that they're at a proper push. And Keen Nakamura Berta will be the first driver to offer up a target time. So, when we last had F4 here, I've got a feeling that was also a slightly weather-affected weekend, wasn't it? It was Arvin Lindblad who was the dominant driver 2 years ago when we last had F4 here. Down to the Macau hairpin, then comes Nakamura Berta, goes through the very tight first gear corner, speed building as he drops then down the hill through black sands. hidden behind the barrier, but trust me, there's a Lamborghini dealership down the hill, and then you get to Fisherman's, and speed starts to build now as the road suddenly widens. Look, the cars flow right out to the wall on the outside and coming down towards the last corner. So Keen Nakamura Berta, a Formula Regional car, was doing a 2:16 by way of a flying lap time. These cars will, of course, get faster as the half-hour period continues, because we are going to see the cars get lighter and the drivers get braver. 2:33, the first offering, and already under investigation for an unsafe release. Number 26, Ryan Carati, a race winner in the French Championship this season. Carati goes briefly second, then Simon Zhang goes up to second fastest, but all of this a little bit academic on just the first flying lap.
Yeah, they are still really getting the cars fully up to temperature, and as we see the times settle their way down, we've got 26 minutes of this session, so although it's had that interruption early on to get Finn McLaughlin's car back, we've still got meaningful time out on circuit, so they don't need to push too hard too soon. They need to learn this circuit first of all, and I'm sure that the first time that you do a full lap around the gear circuit in a single-seater car for these young drivers, however many laps you've done on the simulator, the first time you actually hold your breath for quite a bit of this lap, you must really have to collect your thoughts after it, because there is not really too many circuits in the world like this.
You've touched on simulators. Yes, that's all an important part of it, but so too is a decent driver coach, and
yes,
there are one or two familiar faces in the paddock. Ari Bansal, for example, this year's GB4 champion, the British single-seater category. He's being guided, mentored, coached by Danny Watts. Now, Danny has raced here 13 times, so that's a wealth of experience that can be imparted. So it's all very well, yes, having these modern things like a simulator, but also being able to talk to somebody, be guided by somebody that's raced here and successfully so as well. That's important also.
so I'm glad you mentioned Danny, because he did make us giggle yesterday. We were chatting to him and he said so many people, people that aren't involved in motorsport have not really too much knowledge about motorsport, ask him what he does, and he says, I'm a driver coach. And he said, what, you drive coaches? Apparently this is quite regular that Danny gets asked this.
He also now has a mental health not charity, but a business helping people with mental health issues. And well, they said we don't really want to have to help anybody. Inevitably we do, and something else that he's turning his attention to. Right, Keen Nakamura Berta has done the opening proper lap time, a 2:29.9. Emanuele Oliveri now has done a 2:30.8, and another little battle pack comes over the line, which includes the Chinese champion Simon Zhang, and Zhang gets elbowed back down the order to 5th, in fact.
It's a good guy, is Danny Watts, a great driver, former Renault champion, wasn't he, years ago, when I first got to know him, and he used to come in and sit in here in this very commentary box and opine his thoughts, and he was always very entertaining and very interesting, because he's a great driver.
Class winner at Le Mans.
Yes.
And just to make you feel old, his son is now doing Ginetta Juniors.
Worrying, isn't it? Yeah.
23 minutes are on the clock, and the order continues to shuffle as drivers learn and get more confident. Thomas Behrman up to 8th fastest now, ahead of Gino Trapper. Sebastian Weldon, the American, is just ahead. And Sebastian Weldon there climbs up San Francisco Hill. Simon Zhang's just done an absolute best in the second sector, but there is Sebastian Weldon, who was a race winner in the Middle East Championship, and up the escape road has gone number 15. That is Yuzhe Wang. Keeps the engine running, tries to sort himself out.
Competed in 2 championships this year, Chinese F4 and Middle East F4 as well. It's an opportunity to compete around the globe in Formula 4, and the certification by the FIA is so important in the titles of these, for one reason. make sure that cars around the world are run to the same specification and they can come together for an event just like this.
This is Weldon making his way now up from Moorish Hill, heading towards Donna Maria. Sebastian Weldon, who is affiliated to the Andretti Global concern, and of course his father raced twice at Indianapolis for the Andretti team, getting confirmation that Wang Yuzhe has rejoined the session.
Oh, that's good news. No need for another interruption in this session, because it is quite important to try and get into a groove here. And when you're learning a circuit like this, to do a lap after a lap after a lap and actually get into some kind of momentum is quite important. And sometimes, last year in particular, with the challenging weather that we had, it was more difficult to do. But if they can string 3 or 4 or 5 laps together, one after another, it becomes that much more meaningful, doesn't it?
And that escape road at Lisboa, by definition, is an important part of the racetrack, because sometimes we've seen drivers try and commit to the corner, either to make a move or be late on the brakes, and it hasn't worked. And rather than try and turn and hit the wall, they can jink left and sort out the drama without damage. Go up the escape road. That's what it's there for. So it's an important part of the racetrack. Keen Nakamura Berto, 2:27.7 to be the fastest. Seb Weldon has gone up to 3rd. Ryan Caretti up to 4th. Simon Zhang up to the top 6 now. Jules Roussel, an improver last time around. He did an absolute best sector 1. He was the runner-up in the French Championship, Jules Roussel. So yeah, some good names here. It's a really, really competitive field.
And once again, I'm reminded when we first saw the Formula 4 cars on the circuit a few years ago, just how right they look around this circuit. They look nimble around the corners. They're almost lost when the circuit becomes wide, which is great news for overtaking opportunities. They just really do suit the circuit.
You're looking at Gennaro or Gino Trapper, who was the Central European Zone champion this year in F4, the Argentine driver. He's also raced in the Spanish series. He drove in the FIA Motorsport Games F4 races at where were we last year? Valencia. So he's an experienced F4 campaigner, and Trapper 7th at the moment. Jules Roussel has done his normal trick of being quickest, an absolute best in sector 1, an absolute best sector 2 for Keen Nakamura Berto, an absolute best in sector 4 now from this man Gino Trapper. So Trapper should be on for an improvement as he comes out of Fisherman's here up towards the end of the lap. 20 minutes on the clock just about.
We're just seeing the cars threading their way around Melco hairpin, and although there is no overtaking allowed over the course of the whole weekend, there really isn't the opportunity to do so even if it were allowed. But the way you enter the Melco hairpin and the way you exit, therefore, the Melco hairpin is absolutely vital to setting up a really good lap. And they're just exploring those opportunities. You wouldn't think there was more than one route around the Melco hairpin, but there are.
And Trapper, 3rd fastest at the end of that lap. So Gino Trapper going by and doing a 2:28.883. Oh dear, big drama there coming out of Fisherman's, one in the wall, and the session is stopped immediately. So a car up against the barrier, debris on the racetrack. We'll try and work out who it is.
Is it Alexandre Munoz?
It is Alexandre Munoz, good spot, who has hit the wall from 7th in the times, our 2nd stoppage. Oh, and he's done quite a lot of damage to the front as well as the rear left corners. That barrier has had quite a whack.
And early on Thursday morning here at Macau, that's the first warning, isn't it? The Macau circuit can bite and bite hard. And the team are going to have to work hard on that car to repair the left-hand side of it.
So we've lost Finn McLaughlin even effectively before the session started, and now Alexandre Munoz with a lot of damage. And this is going to take a bit of recovering, because now everybody has to come to the pit lane. That's the sort of secondary hit, if you like, as he skims along the barrier. You can see the witness marks on the recticel where he's hit the wall coming out of Fisherman. And there's the second bang into the concrete. So that's a very, very broken car. and into the wall it goes again. So Munoz then out of the session, a lot of damage, and as I say, everybody has to come to the pit lane. Then marshals are allowed to go and deal with the incident, and then we can think about the resumption. But they're not going to have much time, maybe 10 minutes at best, I would propose.
I think you're right. We lost coming up to 10 minutes at the start of the session with the recovery of Finn McLaughlin's car, and I'll be keen to know what the problem was with Finn's car. It's very unfortunate that he's not been able to take part in this, because I was quite keen to see how the British F4 champion was going to compete on day one. We've got another day to look forward to tomorrow, and the cars will be on circuit twice tomorrow for FP2 and for qualifying as well, so he'll have to just get everything together and do it all in one day.
Just to go back to Alexandre Munoz for a moment, the driver that's caused this stoppage, he is this year's French champion, so he's another big name, like Finn McLaughlin, the British champion, on the back foot. Alexandre Munoz, only 16 years of age. This is another aspect to the F4 World Cup. You're talking about very young drivers.
Very young drivers that are learning their skills at an earlier age now, aren't they? 16 years old and competing on a circuit like this.
Many can't drive on the road.
No.
But they can drive on these roads. They can't spray champagne on the podium because they're underage.
Yes.
But boy, can they be brave racing drivers.
It's incredible, isn't it? I wouldn't trust myself not to bump into the barrier running around the circuit.
I must see.
Yeah, but I won't be getting up at 4 o'clock to do it, that's for sure. I don't think you will again, will you?
Not till next year.
No. Yeah. Only ever on day one.
Yeah, exactly. Too much of a good thing. So Munoz, depressingly, had just done an absolute best in the previous sector before he hit the wall. So he was absolutely on it. He'd done an absolute best and 2 personals. That should have been a ripper lap, but unfortunately, the wall leapt out at him. So now teams discuss with their drivers and see what, if anything, needs to be done before the session goes live once again. Number 61 there is Kimi Chan, runner-up in the Chinese championship. I think I said early on, everyone using the same base car and engine here. They're Miguel M21 F4 chassis. They've got the turbocharged 4-cylinder 1300cc Alpine engine in the back. And here the rest of the queue trickles into the pit lane.
Great cars as well, really cool cars, and also great to be on the FIA single-seater ladder as well with F4 cars. Certainly at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone this year, it was fabulous to see the National Championship, British F4, competing alongside FIA Formula 3, FIA Formula 2, and of course Formula 1 as well, all on the same category. I think the first time that's happened.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, it was to the spectators' eyes, obviously a very single-seater laden weekend, but absolutely clear that there's the talent ladder. So it was good racing. Salim Hanna was the dominant F4 driver. It's a shame he's not in this entry, the Colombian. Right, everyone down the pit road, but of course we need the car out of harm's way. Maybe the officials will want a quick look at the barriers just to make sure that they're okay, but I think the Recticel absorbed most of the hit. But that's going to be a car with quite a lot of damage to be repaired once the team get it back. 42 there, you can see, Emily Cotti. And Keen Nakamura Berta, the Brit, is at the top of the times on a 2:27.7. That's the best lap that he's done.
So once again, as we've seen already today, because we're having a free practice session, the clock will continue to count down. Under 13 minutes of this session remain now, and those vital minutes out on the circuit are ticking down in pit lane. So drivers get the chance to have a look at the live timing, have a chat to the teams as well, and our opportunity to see some of the cars for the first time as well. That's the car of Emanuele Oliveri, Italian F4 and Middle East F4 champion this year, down in pit lane. And a livery that we rather like for an Italian driver, because it looks like the colours of the Italian flag.
Yeah, Oliver is second in the times, as you say, but he's 8/10 down on Keen Nakamura Berta. That's number 87. You see Thomas Behrman, the brother of Ollie, and of course Dad was a pretty decent club racer going back a decade or two in MGs. Had a very rapid MG-BG TV8. There is the recovery of Alexandra Munoz's car, and first of all it's got to be jacked up by the look of it to get it off the wall and away so it can be then moved off the circuit. Recovery vehicle has not yet got to it, so we are going to be a good few minutes yet. Keen Nakamura Berta then, number 51, is the fastest, and we are under red flag conditions, as you can tell, and you can clearly see for why. Alexandra Munoz in the wall. So this is on board with Keen Nakamura Berta. You've gone out of reservoir down towards Mandarin, and speed building on this very fast open part of the circuit, and what looks to be a kink is a full-on corner here as you go through. Nakamura Berta not running too wide up towards the wall, but maybe as the weekend goes on and the confidence ups, he might be able to. And then look for a corner. It's coming up somewhere. Is there a gap in the arm coat? There it is. You find it and you've got to turn, and that is Lisboa.
Amazing corner, isn't it? I remember, because of course over the course of this weekend we've got motorcycles as well. Peter Hickman once said, motorcycle rider, that he couldn't see the corner and he had sunlight in his eyes, so he would get to a marker on the run down towards Lisboa and count and then turn in, because that's when the corner's going to be. And breed apart, aren't they? Incredible.
The other side of San Francisco Hill, going then through the section down towards Teddy Yip and the Solitude S's. Keen Nakamura Berta threads the car through the left, through the right, through the left, right again, dropping downhill, slight rise as he comes through Faraway Hill, and then as the road flicks left again, eventually you get towards the harder braking at the bottom of Moorish Hill.
Real pinch point, that.
Yeah, coming up now, so slight climb, down through the gears, hard braking, back on the power, but run wide there and hit the wall and you cause absolute mayhem behind. Then up towards Donna Maria, where it just ever so slightly tilts you down to the left. Out the other side, and it's narrow on this section as well. Up towards the hairpin, hard on the brakes. Down to first gear. Back on the power to just kick the back of the car around the hairpin, and then speed building all the way down here through Black Sands.
This is the lovely moment when the circuit opens up and the cars can really properly stretch their legs down through Black Sands, and the right-hander at Fisherman's Bend on towards the final bend, which is our bend, and the completion of a lap of the gear circuit here at Macau, this wonderfully historic circuit at Macau. Absolutely wonderful circuit.
Yeah. Past the permanent building on the left, over the timing line. Keen Nakamura Berta then a 2:27.776, the best lap of the session.
I think that building was built for the 60th anniversary of the Macau Grand Prix in the familiar yellow and black colours, the corporate colours of the Macau Grand Prix. We've got notification that we'll be back underway here at 10:42 local time, so very, very soon I think we're going to see a green flag and get things back underway.
Yeah, Marshall's scurrying off the track, so the race director, the British official Simon Nana Pragazam, is happy to let the cars go, and everybody pretty much on their toes, ready to get back out. There are the engineers ready to release the cars, and we are about 4 seconds or so now away from that green flag. You can see the countdown, 2, 1, go. Lights go green, and 8 minutes then on the clock to round out the session.
Here we go then, just under 8 minutes of this session remain for the Macau Formula 4 race, the FIA F4 World Cup Free Practice 1. 2 interruptions in this session so far, and hopefully we can run green all the way through to the checkered flag in the first free practice session. If you are just tuning in, Phil McLaughlin, the British F4 champion, his car ground to a halt before even completing one lap out of the pit lane, so he's not getting these vital laps around the circuit to set up a nice 4 days for the Macau Grand Prix week, but you have absolutely no doubt you'll be working hard behind the scenes to make up for that. And then, already we've got a car which has gone off because that's Itsuki Sato.
You can see the tyre mark, so he's stood on the brakes, but he's arrived there a little bit too rapidly, and now he needs to try and hook reverse gear, and there's going to be a very, very audible groan in race control, because they'll be thinking, oh no, if you can't get the car going, we're going to have to stop the session again to let marshals go on the track to help him out. So it looks as though Sato...
It's not dug in there, is it?
No, he just can't find reverse gear.
Can't find reverse gear.
So race control will give him time. They got the time because it's a long lap and it's only an out lap anyway, but to do that on an out lap, it's a little bit undercooked, isn't it?
So for you mentioned Simon Nana Pagrasam, who is here officiating here, his first Macau. So it's nothing like in at the deep end, is it, for single-seaters with Formula Regional cars first of all this morning, and then Formula 4 cars as well. And the good news is the car has got going, so we have a green flag down at Lisboa. That is really good news. There was a reverse gear in there somewhere. It was just a question of finding it. Sighs of relief all round, I should say.
So, yeah, 2 drivers then, Formula 4 champions of the season, not taking any further part in the session. McLaughlin and Munoz, the 2 that we have lost. And car's gone straight on at the Melco hairpin now. So for an outlap, this is rather chaotic. And that car needs to somehow sort itself out and get going again, but needs to wait for everyone to go streaming past first of all. Yellow flag turn 19 is confirmed while that car is at the escape road. So end of the lap, and the first driver to break the timing beam and go on to a flyer is number 68, Emanuele Oliveri. Whether or not he's going to be able to get onto terms with Nakamura Berta before the end is slightly dependent on all these yellow flags.
Yeah, it's been a tricky restart, hasn't it, for that opening lap. 2 little incidents on the out lap from pit lane. So, this is Oliveri. Good-looking car, that, isn't it, in the colour scheme? That's really smart. Currently second. Car number 68 down towards the right-hander at Lisboa. One of the iconic views, isn't it, running into that corner. And then San Francisco Hell on towards Maternity and the start of the tight and twisty section of the gear circuit here at Macau.
Yeah, you climb the hill, you go past the hospital on the left-hand side, you've got people's apartments that loom over you, and the familiar wall there on the outside as Oliveri avoids it, drops down the hill. And we've now got a yellow flag at turn 2, and that's not good because turn 2 is Mandarin and another red flag. I fear there's going to be a car in bits because if you go off there, you've hit the wall, and there is a car. Now, it's not turn 2, that's coming out of Lisboa up towards San Francisco, isn't it?
It is.
So between 3 and 4. But it was, we were told, turn 2. The session will not be resumed because we don't have enough time to get people back in the pits and get going again. So with 3.5 minutes on the clock, effectively, session is done. Now, Alan spent much of yesterday researching liveries. Who's that car? 15 it is. So Wang Yuji, wide coming out of Lisboa, skims the barrier, and that's that.
It is, yeah, and a quick decision by race control not to resume the session. It's been a little bit of a challenging session, hasn't it? Yeah. They haven't really been able to properly get into a groove for any meaningful lap after lap after lap, but unfortunately it was just a little bit too much to ask, wasn't it? Too much going on that restart lap, and that one just being the final straw, really. So for car 15, driver out, and now the marshals can wait for the word from race control that they can get to work in the recovery of the car, which can happen pretty quickly. They've got quite a lot of recovery equipment down there at Lisboa and San Francisco, because there are quite a few incidents over the course of 4 days here at Macau, so they can get that car dealt with quickly enough. But if you bear in mind the clock has continued to count down, and it's only just over 2 minutes of the session remaining. That's it. That's it for free practice 1, and that is it for F4 for today.
Yeah, And in the case of Finn McLaughlin, not a lap turned. In fact, not a corner turned, really.
Really sad.
From coming out of the pit lane. So it's going to be very interesting indeed to see how people like he and Munoz fare over the rest of the weekend. So, yeah, F4 World Cup free practice 1 at an end. Session done and dusted, as the clock will hit 0 as they make their way to the pit lane with the red flag because of this car of Wang Yuzhe in the wall down at Lisboa. So Keen Nakamura Berta tops the times from Emanuele Oliveira and then Gino Trapper. Simon Zhang 4th, Seb Weldon 5th, Ryan Caretti 6th. And as Alan made the point, a number of drivers not really being able to get into a proper rhythm. That takes us back to a conversation we seemingly kept having to have last year when it was relevant to Formula Regional drivers.
That was a real frustration, wasn't it, last year? Yeah.
However, we are where we are with the stoppages. So, free practice completed. Keen Nakamura Berta is fastest. 0.8 of a second the margin over Emanuele Oliveira. Gino Trapper 3rd from Simon Zhang, Seb Weldon and Ryan Caretti. Alexandra Munoz 7th before he put the car in the wall and calls the second of the 3 red flags. Alan's keeping score of all this. 8th, Jules Roussel ahead of Ari Bansel and Tom Behrman rounding out the top 10. Rintaro Sato from Itsuki Sato, the unrelated Sato's 11th and 12th. Emily Cotti 13th from Thiago Rodriguez. Then Wang Yuzhe 15th, causing the 3rd red flag. 16th fastest in the end, Marcus Chung, ahead of Kihu Lee, Kimi Chan, Finn McLaughlin, not doing a time.